With you again is Father Matthew Zaytuna, and the topic from Johannine literature that we'll be discussing today is from the first letter of John, chapter 4. The whole chapter can be summarized simply: those who belong to God versus those who belong to the world and the Antichrist. First John warns against false prophets and instructs how to test if a spirit is from God. If the spirit acknowledges that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, became incarnate, then it is a spirit from God, and if it is not, it is simply not from God. John further describes the distinction between those who belong to God and who belong to the world. He acknowledges that the true believers have conquered the false prophets, that is, those who belong to the world, as the true believers who refuse to accept false teachings. The Apostle John notes that the false prophets belong to the world in verse 5. And by world, he means the human society as dominated by sin and under the power of the evil one. Then John further distinguishes that those who listen to us belong to God. Who is this us? The entire church, the faithful, whomever it might be, they are authoritative teachers. The chapter then moves to lead us in a meditation about love. Those who know God are the ones who act with God's love. Those who do not act in love do not know God. And what is love rooted in? That God sent his only begotten Son into the world to die for us as expiation for our sins. John goes so far as to say and to repeat that God is love. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, in paragraph 221, says, God's very being is love. By sending his only Son and the Spirit of love in the fullness of time, God has revealed his innermost secret. Therefore, if God has loved us, we too then must love one another, and so God will remain in us. This point is incredibly important for the faithful, as it is through genuine love that God is present, and that others might see God manifested in the community of the church. Indeed, as we love one another, God's love is brought to perfection in us. There is no fear, but there is a mutual abiding, us in him and him in us. John summarizes his point from the beginning. One is not of God if he hates his brother, and one is only of God if he loves his brother.